Guys, this really does change a lot if this is a serious injury. If this is a serious injury and Shericka Jackson has really pulled up, it was already something. Maybe it was the angle of the video and it looked like that, but man, I'm kind of nervous about this copyright strike. So I'm going to say this thing twice in case I got to pull it out of the video. So for the people that see this right now, cool. But if not, then I'm going to pull it out for later. But let's take a look at this really quick. Because, yeah. Let's mute this. Here's Shericka Jackson right here. She's gotten into a running form. Third from the outside lane. She's looking pretty good right here. Obviously, fair use. Fair use. All right. Let's move this back because, you know, copyright stuff and everything like that. As I am commentating and reacting to this video, this is crazy. So she comes there. She's on the curve. She's kind of, sort of. Actually, you would think she would be much further ahead. This whole season has been a very strange one when it comes down to Shericka Jackson. All right. This whole season's been strange when it comes down to Shericka Jackson. Let's take a look at it. Let's zoom it in. She's not far enough. Right here, she's already kind of looking a little bit different. But hey, maybe that's just me thinking too far, because she actually does have like her arms in particular has a very distinct style as she's running. All right, she's there. She's there. Okay, something happens. Look at her face. Actually, let me increase the quality here. I think this only happens during the live stream. You guys see a better quality video than I do. See her face? She's screaming out. She stops, and there you go. She just does not have it anymore. You would have thought that she would have been ahead of Nita and Julian Alfred well before that time, because it's a 22.16. It had a tailwind of 0.6, so that did help a little bit. But let's put this back here. So I'm going to repeat this just in case I have to take that part out. Look, this has been a very strange season for Shericka Jackson. Very interesting, because obviously she had really bulked up, and we've been saying it the whole season. Everybody's seen it. She was very much bigger than what people are used to seeing her, but many people are not used to seeing her at the weight scale that she's at now, because in the 400 you're probably going to be more slim. But as she's transitioned more and more into doing that 1 and 200 meters, every year she's gotten a little bit bigger, and this one she kind of blew up and ballooned as far as muscle size a lot more. It was very noticeable compared to years past. And now as she's slimming up and her coach is now getting her faster and faster, she's apparently now pulled an injury. And that's very unfortunate, because this is going to change the entire makeup. Whereas some people have been saying, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter what she's looking like early season, because later in the season, you know, the Coach Francis brothers and everything, they get their athletes ready. They're going to be prepared. We know how they do it. They hold the athletes back, and they're going to be fine. If she's pulling up right here this close to the Olympics, okay, this close to the Olympics, that's a horrible sign. Now, that's not to say that you can't still set a world record. That's not to say you still can't win, because last I checked, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, did not Michael Johnson set a world record and he was like nursing a hamstring issue? So if this is just something like an issue where it's like, hey, I can't really push too much in practice to the point where I probably want to push right now, I just got to try to maintain and do what I can and really be aware of what problems I got. Is this that moment? Right? Is this that for Shericka Jackson? It's looking very troubling right now. And just like the announcers said, the British announcers said, we can only speculate at this moment. She didn't jump like I have a huge fall over, didn't have one of those. She just kind of was like, and then whatnot, and just kind of limped it through. Right? You know, when athletes are feeling something and it's real, real bad, they kind of have a huge jump in the air, a leap in the air or something like that. This might have just been, hey, you know what? Something, she felt it there, and, you know, a day or two off or a couple of days off, you could do that. I felt that same thing one time. It was like, hey, I felt it. It was in my hamstring. You know, I had to be very wary over that next 2 weeks. Good thing there's 3 weeks left. I had to be very wary, but I mean, a good 2 days, I was good. And then it came back again, though. But this time I didn't push it. I felt it again. I felt it start coming up. Took another 2 days off. I was perfectly fine for the rest of the year. So hopefully this is like one of those cases. Let her take off a day or two from her training, whatever she needs to do. She got professionals, obviously, so they can massage her back into health, do whatever they need to do, ice and stem, whatever you need to do, go ahead and do it, because this is going to change the whole makeup of the 200. Gabby's coming in as the favorite for sure. She was already coming in as a slight favorite from my view, with Shericka Jackson saying, hey, she's preparing, so she's overall still going to be up there. But with this, it's going to be all Gabby Thomas at this point. Julian Alfred just does not have the jets from what I see. If Gabby Thomas doesn't bring her A game, then somebody like an Alfred or somebody else can come up even from the American team and catch her and nip her off. Somebody from another thing. Now let's take how this is going to affect the 100. Many people are saying, whatever, you know, the 100, Shericka Jackson probably wasn't going to win. That takes away a medal from Jamaica. If somebody says, hey, she wasn't going to win the 100, can you argue that she's most likely going to get a medal? Because every time she's shown up at one of these championships, she's come by with a medal. There's absolutely no question with that, right? So if you come by and say, hey, Shericka Jackson may now have won, I still say that she still had a good chance of winning. Not how Sha'Carri was looking now and how Shericka Jackson has been looking this whole time. But now this is now putting a damper on the whole thing. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? And as promised, I'm going to talk about the conversions for the world record at this part. I've covered the main topic. So when it comes down to the world records and the conversions, I'm going to put a picture of Shelly Ann on the screen right here. When it comes down to the conversion of the world records, I look at it from the people that kind of developed the calculations from it. They essentially said, and now I can't confirm that most of the calculations that are being used to convert these times to no wind and everything, that whoever is using, because they might be having their own or some other calculation. But from the one where I saw the biggest study from, where it had the 1980s Olympics all the way till to 2016, I think, and whatnot, the people that are doing these studies, they essentially said, I don't know. We can't know for sure. They just said, this is our best guess. And when you really think about science, that kind of is like that. But they said, this is our best guess. Here are the variables that we don't know when we convert these times, and why this, I don't think that's legitimate to say converted time here. Like, you know, Usain Bolt is running against the wind. Guess what? He's taller than other athletes. They didn't know how the wind pressure will affect the volume of an athlete. So a shorter athlete, that's going to affect them differently. A taller athlete, a stockier athlete, somebody that's wider, how does that wind affect them? They said they could not account for, they really just don't know. They don't know how that affects them on the drag of the athlete themselves. They also didn't know how the air humidity, you know, humidity means more water droplets in the air. So of course, I would think that means it's heavier. You know, it's heavier. It's like going from altitude to sea level. The air feels heavier because there's more molecules closer. So the same thing with humidity, you would think, but they said they cannot factor that in. They don't know how that really affects athletes in their performances from one person's body to another person's body. Same thing when you got the wind to your back. They don't know. And also another thing, you know how some athletes are, and I was going to cover this in a FloJo video, but I'm covering it here. Some athletes, you know, when they try to put the athletes, the quickest athletes in the middle of the track, and it is like that bird formation, how they do the V, and that allows the ones on the side to then actually get less of the wind pressure right there, and so therefore they're getting dragged forward. Okay, could that same thing be happening? Because we saw that at Budapest, did we not? We saw that at many other races like Prefontaine back in 2021. And we see this a lot in the men's races. Yeah, they may not affect the overall world record times, but it could affect other people's personal best. How do we know that those people on the side that are in that V formation a lot, sometimes it doesn't break down like that, but it does a lot of time. How do we know they're not being dragged to a slightly better time because they're getting drift off of another athlete? Because we know that people can drift off of somebody in the 4x4, right? We know that people can drift off of people when it comes to different races, the longer races. So shouldn't that same logic apply even if you're running in a straight line? Would that same logic apply when you're running a 200 on the curve and the wind's blowing a certain way? That athlete that's in the inside lane from you, while not being technically ahead of you, they could be technically behind you, but because you caught up on them, are they blocking out the wind? That's why too many variables in there. I don't know if we can convert those and say this is equivalent to this one. So I just wanted to answer that by Jackson. You had asked that question, so we're just putting that to you as that answer. If you guys have other questions, I think I'm gonna start just putting them into these videos toward the end or in the middle after I cover the topic. If you guys like that, just ask some more questions and whatnot, and I'll get toward that. If you guys want me to bring up the study, because I did do that in 2021. Remember, I brought up that. I was the channel, the definitive channel that brought up the study with the conversions of wind, the world records, and how they said, hey, altitude does this. Because I was trying to debunk those people that said Oregon is high altitude. Oh, look at the altitude, the time. All of these little trolls here that's trying to demean the American athletes from their performances, saying they can't perform somewhere else. No, if they can't perform somewhere else, it's for a different reason. It's not because Oregon is, quote, high altitude, because that was happening before they had track meets just at Oregon. And I debunked everybody by using that study. That was a very long study. But if you guys want me to bring it back up on screen and show it more scientifically, I will. And I've been your host, Nick, and this has been Head and Shoulders ATR, where we cover athletes, performances, and otherwise that are head and shoulders above the rest. Guys, let me know what you guys think about this news. Peace.